Imagine the unimaginable, a nuclear attack. It's not a question of if, but when. We live in a world where the tension among nations is palpable, a world where the nuclear age isn't a distant memory, but an ever-present reality. It's a reality that demands our attention, our vigilance, and our preparation. Every day, the news is filled with stories of escalating conflicts, of political chess games played with nuclear weapons as the pawns. It's enough to make you feel like you're living in a dystopian novel. But this isn't fiction. This is our reality. It's easy to be overwhelmed, to feel helpless in the face of such immense threats. But the power is in our hands. We can prepare. We can equip ourselves with knowledge and tools necessary to survive. Because remember, the question is not how to prevent a nuclear attack, but how to survive it. The first 15 minutes after a nuclear blast are crucial. Your actions could mean the difference between life and death. Let's imagine the unthinkable has happened. A nuclear detonation has occurred. The initial shock and disbelief might be paralyzing, but what you do next is of utmost importance. Your first instinct may be to look towards the explosion. Resist that urge. The light from a nuclear blast can cause temporary or even permanent blindness. Instead, turn away and shield your eyes. Next, you need to get as far away from the blast as possible. If you're outdoors, take cover immediately. Look for the nearest solid structure, a building, a wall, anything that can put a barrier between you and the blast. If you're indoors, stay there, but don't just stand by the window and watch. Glass can shatter from the blast wave, turning into lethal projectiles. Find a spot in your home that's as far from windows and exterior walls as possible. A basement or an internal room without windows is your best bet. Now you've found shelter. But remember, the danger isn't over yet. You need to avoid fallout. Fallout is the radioactive dust that falls from the sky after a nuclear blast. It's invisible, but deadly. If you're outside, get inside as quickly as possible. If you're already inside, stay there. In the first 15 minutes, avoid eating or drinking anything. Fallout can contaminate food and water, and whatever you do, don't go outside. The radiation levels are highest in the first few hours after a blast. Also, remember to stay calm. Panic won't help. It will only make things worse. Focus on the things you can control. Finally, try to get information. Turn on the radio or television. Use your phone if it's still working. Official channels will provide instructions on what to do next. Remember, those first 15 minutes can determine your survival. Your best ally in a nuclear attack is a fallout shelter. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly is a fallout shelter? Well, it's a secure place designed to protect you from the harmful radiation of a nuclear fallout. These shelters are typically built underground, well insulated, and reinforced to withstand the impact of a nuclear blast. The primary function of a fallout shelter is to shield you from the intense radiation that follows a nuclear explosion. This radiation, composed of tiny particles, or fallout, rain down from the sky after a nuclear blast. It's invisible, but deadly. But don't worry, a properly constructed shelter can block this radiation, keeping you safe inside. Now let's talk about what you'll need inside your shelter. First things first, food and water. You'll need a supply to last each person for at least 2 weeks. Non-perishable canned goods and bottled water are great choices. Remember, you won't have access to fresh food or running water in a fallout scenario. Next on the list is a medical kit. Accidents can happen, and it's crucial to have supplies to deal with any potential injuries. Your kit should include basics like bandages, antiseptics, pain relievers, and any necessary prescription medications. Another vital component of your shelter is a radiation detector, also known as a Geiger counter. This device will help you monitor the levels of radiation inside and outside your shelter, which is crucial for knowing when it's safe to leave. Lastly, don't forget about sanitation. Include items like trash bags, toilet paper, and hand sanitizer. Remember, cleanliness is important in a confined space and can help prevent the spread of disease. So there you have it. A fallout shelter is more than just a hole in the ground. It's a lifeline in a nuclear disaster, a place where you can weather the storm of radiation and emerge unscathed. It's a place of safety, a place of survival. A well-stocked, sturdy shelter could be your haven in a nuclear disaster. Surviving a nuclear attack is not just about the immediate aftermath. It's a long-term game. This is where we delve into the long haul, the endurance test that truly determines your survival. Let's talk about the importance of long-term planning. It's not just about getting through the initial blast and fallout. It's about preparing for the days, weeks, and possibly months of isolation that follow. Food and water are paramount. You'll need a stockpile of long-lasting, non-perishable food items. Think canned goods, dried foods, and energy bars. A diverse range of foods will not only keep you nourished, but also help maintain morale in trying times. Remember, the human body can go weeks without food, but only days without water. Make sure to stock up on bottled water and learn how to collect and purify rainwater or other sources. Which brings us to another vital point, learning basic first aid. In a post-nuclear world, hospitals and doctors may not be readily available. Having a well-stocked first aid kit is a start, but knowing how to use it is crucial. Learn how to treat burns, cuts, and fractures. Understand how to recognize and manage symptoms of radiation sickness. Knowledge is your best weapon in a survival situation. Now, let's talk about water again, but this time, let's focus on purification. After a nuclear event, water sources may be contaminated with radiation. It's essential to know how to purify this water, making it safe for drinking and cooking. Boiling, distillation, and chemical purification are all methods you can employ. It's a good idea to have multiple methods at your disposal, in case one isn't possible. The long haul of survival isn't just about physical preparation. It's a mental game too. Maintaining a positive can-do attitude can make the difference between giving up and pushing on. Remember, it's about endurance, resilience, and adaptability. As we've learned, survival is a marathon, not a sprint. Keep this mantra in mind, and you'll be prepared to face the long-term challenges of surviving a nuclear attack. Emerging from your shelter is the next big step. But remember, the world outside will not be the same. Timing is everything. Knowing when it's safe to leave your shelter is critical. Radiation levels decrease exponentially after the blast, but don't be fooled. It's not an all-clear signal. Typically, 2 weeks is the magic number. That's the time when it's generally safe to venture out for short periods. But how do you know for certain? That's where a Geiger-Muller counter, or a radiation detector, comes in. It's your best friend in these uncertain times. This device measures radiation and tells you if it's safe to go out. If you don't have one, consider waiting even longer, perhaps a month, to be on the safer side. Venturing out doesn't mean throwing caution to the wind. Protecting yourself from lingering radiation is still paramount. Wear protective clothing that covers your entire body. Think long sleeves, long pants, gloves, and sturdy boots. And don't forget your face. A good respirator mask can filter out harmful particles that you might otherwise breathe in. Remember, every precaution you take increases your chances of survival. Now, it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. The importance of finding a reliable source of information can't be overstated. It could be a battery-operated radio, a satellite phone, or even a community of fellow survivors. Information is power. It can guide you to safe zones, alert you to weather changes, and connect you with rescue operations. In a world turned upside down, reliable information is a beacon of hope. So when you're ready to step out of your shelter, remember these 3 key points. Wait until the time is right, protect yourself from lingering radiation, and seek out reliable information. These steps won't just ensure your survival, they'll pave the way for your re-emergence into a world that's been forever changed. Emerging from the shelter is a new beginning in a changed world. Surviving a nuclear attack is about preparedness, quick thinking, and long-term resilience. Let's recap what we've discussed. In the immediate aftermath, every second counts. Seek shelter immediately, preferably underground, and stay there for at least 15 minutes. This is crucial to avoid the initial blast and harmful radiation. Your fallout shelter is your lifeline. Stock it with essential supplies, food, water, medical kits, and radiation detection devices. It should be sturdy enough to shield you from the harsh radioactive fallout outside. Long-term survival is a game of patience and resilience. You'll need to stay in the shelter for a period of 2 weeks to a month, depending on the severity of the fallout. When it's finally safe to re-emerge, be cautious. The world outside will be drastically different, but life must go on. Start rebuilding, but remember to stay vigilant for lingering radiation. In the face of a nuclear attack, survival is possible. Remember these steps, and you could live to tell the tale.